What is up? Welcome into this Monday morning edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Anything happened yesterday?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. No big games, nothing like that. No, in all seriousness, obviously, we're going to talk about this later, but it sucks to come in here and it's not a victory Monday for me on a day where it damn well should have been. Could have been.
Easily. There were chances to be had. One very specific one that
we still got our guy at quarterback. I'm happy with that.
He had a good one. Who doesn't have their guy at quarterback, who's not having a good Monday, probably a worse Monday than either of us, is Daniel Jones. Got benched reportedly on his bye week. I couldn't help but think of the
how you get fired on your day off.
Exactly. How do you get fired on your day off? Well, Daniel Jones just got benched on his day off for Tommy DeVito. And this one, obviously, performance is a big part of it, but also he has the injury guarantee that everyone keeps talking about, that if he gets hurt and can't pass a physical come March, which Daniel Jones, no stranger to getting hurt, especially with the way he plays the game of football, they would then be on the hook for a lot of money for him next year. And if he can't pass physical in August, even more money next year. So they can't risk that or don't want to risk that, similar to what we saw last year when they benched Russell Wilson, the Denver Broncos. So the Daniel Jones era comes to about as anticlimactic an end as you can get. Unsurprising with how it's gone there. Tommy DeVito, obviously not the answer. This one, they're just playing for draft status right now. But I think the question now becomes, do they trust this staff and this GM to be the ones to put them in place to find the new quarterback and to really jumpstart this rebuild?
Well, I really like Brian Daboll. I think he's a great coach. I also think when you look at the situation, JJ did a really good job breaking this thing down for us a couple weeks ago on Tops, talking about what you said, the injury money. So we could see them sit him down because of his history and because of just the inherent risk of playing football. But when you think about a bye week being the time that this decision comes, it makes sense. Tommy DeVito gets a head start on the next week of install. I think what we'll be able to see is a fresh look at the Giants and this staff with Tommy DeVito. Obviously, they're not going to be competitive as it pertains to postseason meaningful football this year. But what you can glean from the next couple of weeks from this Giants team is what kind of creativity they have, what kind of communication they have with their quarterback, which will be obviously important moving forward when they do make a change. I'm not quite sure who would be the right quarterback to go after, but I would say Daboll is a guy that I would want in my corner during this selection process.
And here's the thing. They were also legitimately better with Tommy DeVito last year than Daniel Jones.
He's a culture fit, too. They went with the finance bro, Daniel Jones from Duke, but now they're going Italian. They're appealing to the masses in the tri-state area.
A fan favorite. He went 3-3 last year.
Cutlets. 8
touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Did a lot of work with his legs as well. And that was as a rookie. So
he's got moxie.
Not that he's the guy or anything. But this isn't even, you don't even have to justify this with any injury money or whatever. You could just say, I think he might be the better guy.
Gives us a better chance to win.
It truly does. So, or truly could. So, unsurprising given how Daniel Jones' season started off, well, just how his career has gone up to this point. I do agree. I think everyone has the take that this is not Daboll's fault, that Daboll himself can scheme up offense, is a good coach, is a good leader. But I do think this spells at least some worry for GM Joe Schoen there, because not only how this offseason went and the whole Hard Knocks fiasco that I'm sure no team is lining up to do next offseason, but just his draft history, his free agent history, and then the decision to pay Daniel Jones in the first place. What they gave him, that contract was just so out of line with his career performance, and every single person with 2 eyes, even in that year where they made the playoffs, where they went on that big run, when they won all those close games, could have said, this is not built to last. He is not playing at a level commensurate with franchise quarterback money. And so you can, it's easy to say revisionist history, but every single person was criticizing this move at the time. And he has to wear it. Joe Schoen does. Maybe it came down from management. Maybe it came down from ownership to say we can't, reset at the quarterback position after making the playoffs, after what DJ just did for us this year. But if it was Joe Schoen, if he signed off on it, it's hard to given then the rest of his decisions and some of the bad draft picks he's had.
But does that mean the staff's out the door too?
I don't know about head coach staff. That one's always difficult.
Because that's weird, right? Like,
it is.
You didn't bring me in. Now you're in charge of my livelihood.
and you just look
for
at
the new guy, right?
And and you just look at their players, and it's like
if I'm Brian Daboll and they, ownership, whoever it is, deems me responsible enough to be able to bridge the gap between the Daniel Jones debacle and potentially the savior of the New York Giants. If that if Shane gets let go, you bring in new management. How short of a leash is Brian Daboll on? Because we all know that the new GM will come in with a guy in mind that if it's not her, it would be her, right? I mean, that's the conversation.
Because also, say you fire Daboll, you're not the most attractive landing spot. And they're 2-8 right now. We'll see where they shake out come draft time.
It's a pressure cooker.
But if you're not in the top 2 picks this year, I don't think you find a quarterback. And even if you're in the top 2 picks, I'm not sure one of those 2 guys is like, this ain't last year's quarterback class, where I was going to bat for these top guys as if they are franchise quarterbacks. And I think you're seeing it right now.
A guy like Shedeur Sanders, though, would fit the New York City market.
He would.
I feel like.
And it's, again, I think there are 2 guys.
That's a guy who wants to be a superstar, level. Is a superstar, grew up with the biggest superstar. I mean,
but he might need his dad to be head coach with him, which is something we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah, or he can just get his dad a really nice penthouse in New York City.
I'm sure his dad.
I know those guys in the 80s and 90s didn't make as much money as these kids nowadays.
Dion, I don't think is hurting for cash flow, but it'll be interesting to see where the Giants go. And again, if they're not ending up a top 2 pick, they're not getting a top coaching candidate, and they are going to struggle to find a franchise quarterback. I just think they will, unfortunately, at this point in time.
Gosh, and the cycle continues.
All right, we're going to take a quick break after this, going to get to the full slate of Week 11 games.
It's a team almost too good to be true.
You guys ain't ready for us.
Kick your game day off right as the Tops team tackles all the biggest headlines around the league.
Who's got 2 thumbs and loves this next segment?
Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Network.
All right, we're going to start with the Chiefs-Bills.
Yep.
The biggest game of the weekend. Undefeated Chiefs travel to Buffalo, and the Bills, man, Josh Allen had the ball when it mattered most and made the play.
Yeah, cool. He was a cucumber, man. That's an MVP moment right there. That's an MVP moment in a week where the guy who we've long considered the MVP
had easily his worst game.
Had his worst game.
And we'll get to that.
And, when everybody's watching that afternoon window, this has been the game that people have had circled since forever. Since they invented schedules, people have circled this game. And it just felt like in that big moment, who was going to have the ball last? And I was joking with Mike this morning. Obviously, I like the Chiefs. I got a lot of respect for Josh Allen, but I just said there wasn't enough time in the game for the Chiefs. But Josh Allen taking it into his own hands at the end of the football game on 4th and 2. My God, he is an Adonis out there on the football field.
Truly took it into his own hands in every way imaginable in terms of not only through the air, but he ran for more yards than the entire Buffalo Bills backfield did besides him. 55 yards on the ground, including that big 26-yarder on a 4th and 2. What was your thought? What was going through your head on that 4th and 2 watching it?
Before the snap, I was like, this is the ball game. I also knew that whatever it came down to, Josh Allen would have the football. It's either going to be J.A. right, J.A. up the middle, or J.A. left. Now, you talked about...
That's why I couldn't believe on the 3rd down before that they didn't. They handed it off. I was like...
Yeah, it's like...
Just give Josh...
You've been banging your head against the wall in the run game all day with your running backs. The running backs, we've raved about this Bills offensive line. And another masterclass, in my opinion, by Aaron Kromer's group yesterday in the protection aspect. And that's why you see a lot of those scampers from Josh Allen. It's not like Josh Allen
space.
It's not like he shrugs off a rusher and takes off for 15 yards. You're talking about a guy who is seeing the coverage, has the luxury of a clean dish, and has the ability to make the decision of either throw with my God tier arm or run with my legs that are like Olympic level legs. And you saw it at the end of the game. But on 4th and 2, they call his number again, and he makes it happen. It was just backbreaking, literally 4 guys bouncing off of Josh Allen at the end of the football game. But great job in protection from the Bills offensive line. They couldn't get it going in the running game. To your point, that 3rd down call, just call Josh's number twice.
I was once. But when it was 4th and 2, I think 5 or so years ago, that is a play where teams would have kicked the field goal there and said, okay, we're going to make him go the length of the field and score.
Yep.
Nowadays, you don't even bat an eye in those situations. There's no chance you're kicking that field goal. You're putting it in the hands of your offense just because not only like obviously they scored the touchdown there, but just from a clock perspective, you were going to give it back to Mahomes with too much time, and it would have been inevitable. I mean, they obviously didn't score when they got the ball.
Was it under 2 or over the 2-minute warning?
It was just over the 2-minute.
Like 2:03 or something.
So if they would have gotten that first down, they could have brought it down to like just over a minute left with 3 more runs and then kick the field goal. So to me, no brainer to go for it. Obviously didn't expect them to get it all in one play, but Josh Allen he outplayed Mahomes flat out. It was a very much a quarterback battle. The running game from both sides. I mean, the Chiefs moved it a little bit more effectively, but Kareem Hunt, what we've been saying all year, once he had a crease, he was getting whatever was blocked and then not too much more in that game. They didn't have necessarily the ability to generate explosives on the ground. And so it was going to come down to Mahomes versus Allen, and Allen just outplayed him.
I mean, we knew it was going to be a quarterback battle. We didn't know it was going to be one of those both guys are kind of bleeding out in certain spots. You think Mahomes and Allen is just going to be a shootout. It wasn't a shootout per se, but it was a battle. And they pulled out the trump card at the end when Josh Allen took it over with his legs.
I think the biggest difference, though, between
truly an MVP, like an MVP highlight reel moment. That's the first clip they're going to show in Buffalo against the Chiefs, game on the line, calls his own number, and just is a physical mismatch for every level of that defense. Front 7, second level, and obviously somebody bouncing off him like a scooter in the highway at the goal line.
Biggest difference, though, in that game was Bill's offensive line. You said it. They held up in pass pro when they needed to hold up in pass pro. The Chiefs offensive line, they were playing left-handed with that unit all game long. When they were throwing out, when they had Vaughn and Rousseau out there at the same time,
who are you going to help?
One was winning. It was only a matter of time. And so Pat just had to get the ball out quickly. Not a lot going down the football field. And when you do have those chances to have one where Xavier Worthy gets his foot out of bounds, can't keep it in, and like what should have been or was a massive play that if he stays in bounds there.
My theory that he's too fast stands up. Remember, I was like, he's so fast, he doesn't know where the end of the football field is.
He's moving. The lines are just like a blur to him.
Yeah.
He's at top speed. He can't tell the difference between, it's a color shift. What is that? When you go too fast, colors start to shift.
You're just fast
He's
drunk.
too fast that like the white and green starts just blurring.
They blur together, yeah.
Still, though, Chiefs atop the AFC. Now, obviously, if they both end up with the same number of losses, this will be the tiebreaker when it's all said and done. But it's not as if the Chiefs have this world beater schedule heading into the barn. You have Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. So obviously we got that Chargers game circled with given how they've been playing of late. We got that Steelers game circled on Christmas Day on Netflix. Everyone's making the buffering jokes about that one already because that could have huge implications.
I just keep thinking about Mike Tyson's butt cheeks.
Did yours buffer right on the cheeks?
They have been on my timeline incessantly since Friday night.
Yeah. And then
get that guy some pants.
I almost forgot. I literally forgot about that until I saw the Netflix game because I watched that fight and it was the most forgettable fight I've ever seen.
I want you to understand that Mike Tyson at 58 years old fighting against Jake Paul, who's like 20 something, would be the equivalent to the Chicago Bears signing like Herschel Walker to play running back.
Everyone thinks like T.O. could come back and do it.
Herschel Walker, who's like 60. T.O. might actually give you some snaps. They went and found a guy who was playing backgammon at the Elks Club and said, do you want to come do this against a kid?
He just stood in the center of the ring and Jake Paul's like,
we'll give you $20 million or you die.
So, I mean, with the Chiefs right now, obviously still in the driver's seat, but Chargers, Steelers, Broncos, those are probably Texans as well. We'll see how
I just have three teams written: Bills, Chiefs, Steelers.
So there's some competition. The number 1 seed back in play in the AFC. All right, let's get to the NFC matchup that came down to the wire. Packers, Bears. Packers win 20-19. They don't cover the 5.5 point spread. The under hits in that one. But this one wasn't, you see the final score and you think defensive battle. It really wasn't. Both teams only had 7 offensive possessions the entire game.
44 plays for the Packers.
Yeah. Okay. They held on to the ball. They just ground out drives, and the field goal would have mattered most.
Yeah.
Same as we saw last week. And I was a little bit farther. And now I cannot, this is like the third time this year where we're settling for 46-yard field goals. You had the ball 40 plus seconds left in field goal range. They ran one play.
Yep.
Gained 1 or 2 yards. And that was it? You didn't even try?
Okay. I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you. Is that a head coach decision or a play caller decision?
Gosh.
I feel like I know the answer to this.
I think it's a head coach decision.
I think it's a head coach decision.
It is.
For what it's worth.
And it's something that I don't think coaches know field goal percentage charts.
Exponentially
like difference
higher.
Difference between 45-yard field goal and a 35-yard field goal is like 1 in 5.
It's like 3rd and 5 versus 3rd and 9.
Yes.
Which in my opinion is like an eternity.
It is. And they just think field goal range is field goal range. Our kicker makes it, our kicker, like they see it as this binary win field goal range. That's good. We can take the foot off the gas.
We reached the red line.
Exactly. You pass the red line.
It's like my daughter. She's like, I'm in the safe area. I'm like, no, nobody's safe ever.
But that's the thing is because you can, and to me, it comes down to sort of motivations. You pass that, or blame. You pass that red line, you can place the blame on the kicker. If you pass that red line, Caleb Williams throws a pick, someone fumbles the next play. All of a sudden, that blame goes to you as the play caller for calling a play that resulted in a turnover. But the field goal, it's just like, hey, it was 46-yarder. Why didn't he make it?
I did my job.
Exactly. And again, would have gotten blocked from closer. Honestly, I don't think so because he had to put a little lower trajectory on it because you're at 46. You don't have to have at 35 if they had, and the way they were moving the ball, you thought you had the Packers on their heels. Their secondary was depleted in that game, that corner specifically. Like you could have, I think pretty realistically, gained at least a handful more yards if you just put the foot on the gas a little bit more in that situation, but they didn't.
So this is 46 yards?
46 yards.
Double doink, 43 yards.
Okay.
Just look that one up. You know, we really struggle in the 40 range as Bears fans when it comes to big field goals.
40 plus are not automatic. They're tough. Yep. It's still, and especially when you're outdoors.
Who's this guy think he is? Eddie Pinheiro, the most accurate kicker in the NFL? No longer Justin Tucker, by the way.
Justin Tucker.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
But I'll say this. Caleb, he threw it, man. He just threw it. 2.42 second average time to throw. Only Tua was faster yesterday. And if you're in the same ballpark as Tua, I remember I said it last. I literally said, I'm like, if you just combine him and Tua, you have the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And he did. He started actually just
balls out. And when it's not, he's out.
Back foot ball out. And it's to like easy ones.
There we go.
Fourth down, too. This one I actually wanted to highlight also because I want to say Quay Walker on this play, on this fourth down. I've never seen a linebacker. It's fourth down, dude.
He pressed the triangle button instead of pressing the square button. Watch this. He's going to press the triangle button. Watch. Yoink!
You're 5 feet away from stationary. Just go hit him, dude. You got a free runner on the quarterback. It's Caleb Williams. Hit him.
Look at those hands by Matt Pryor on the freaking 3-tech.
But Caleb, the ball was coming out. It wasn't perfect game by any means. He still missed a handful of throws. He still took some sacks there in that beginning of that 2-minute drive. That was like, ooh, you can't take those in this sort of situation. You just got to get that out. But you saw him taking a profit when a profit was available. And I think that's the biggest thing that you saw on tape that you just like by the end of this season needed to change because it's not hard to do. It's not hard to just say when we have something that is going to get us a positive gain, we take it. And he was not doing that earlier this year, or that just when he goes in lulls, it's what he's passing up a lot of routine stuff. He was not passing up the routine stuff. And lo and behold, the offense looked good finally. So very encouraging if you're a Bears fan.
Here's what I wrote. Caleb is the guy. He was at his best at the end versus the Green Bay Packers in a gotta have it to win it situation. Gave his team a chance to win versus the rival. Christian Watson, what a play. 60 yards.
Oh, man.
Dive, fall, get up, go. Gotta have it.
2 plays in that game that I have just, quite frankly, never seen from Christian Watson. A fully extended catch, going to the ground.
Tough guy catch.
And then tracking the ball down the field.
That's your beef with him is tracking.
Getting, tracking, not only tracking, but then repositioning when like you're hip to hip or something, when you have to kind of get on it's not on your leverage. You got to go across leverage and get it. Those two plays were the best two plays, in my opinion, of Christian Watson's career. For them to come in the same game, that's a great sign if you're a Packers fan.
Packers run game was dominant early. They were playing a little bit of bully ball on that Bears front, and I think they could feel it. But the big mistakes for the Packers that kept the Bears in the game. That's what we talked about. It was the red zone turnover, the fourth down, failure to convert there. Jordan Love trying to beat Caleb Williams there.
There were two plays this week, 2 fourth downs that were anti-analytics to me. And you see there, Jordan Love, 8 straight games now with an interception. I've been waiting for the guy to come. Button. That overthrow to Tucker Kraft was tough. But 2 games this week where I thought there were fourth down calls that were anti-analytics. The Packers 4th and 6. Going for that down 5, going for a touchdown down 5, because obviously 2 field goals. It was just over 5 minutes left, I believe, in that game. 2 field goals at that point in time win you the game. You're down 5. If you were down 6, I could understand going for it.
Touchdown.
Because 2 field goals is a tie. And so you're going to need a touchdown at some point. But you were down 5. And so 4th and 6 is a difficult convert to in the red zone. That is not
number. It's not 4th and 3. It's not 4th and 5.
And it's not 4th and 6 in the open field where you have some space to work.
Squeeze.
You get some 4th and 6 at the 6-yard line is like a
super
low
squeeze.
Percentage play. So I was very surprised by that. They obviously didn't convert. Yes, you're going to make them go very far. And I think that was their thought process. But again, if you kick a field goal, you are then within, even if you allow a field goal back, you're still within a touchdown. So I was that call. And then we'll get to the Commanders one at the end, the fourth down. They went forward 4th and 2 when they were down 2 late or midway through the fourth quarter. That one was also anti-analytics. The analytics would say in both those situations, or did say, to kick the field goal. So a little surprising, but obviously
they weren't going to get down that field again. You know that.
Out for them in the end.
You know that.
The Packers?
Commanders.
Oh, yeah. That was, I think, why.
That was a wise decision.
But obviously in the end.
So coaching matters. What can Brown do for us? Thomas Brown, immediate impact on Caleb Williams. He was confident. He was playing sure of himself. And the thing that leads me to believe that
they must have had a conversation.
The thing that leads me to believe that he was playing freer is that he was running the football. I think he had 65 rushing yards going into the half.
And it wasn't just scrambles either. They had him involved in the running game. That was in a way that was a weapon for them all day.
He was hitting the easy throws, which is the low-hanging fruit for podcast hosts and people from other shows that say, well, he's not the guy. Obviously the coaching issues, yada, 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 but he's not even hitting the easy targets. He hit the easy targets yesterday.
He did.
In the biggest game of his career. In his introduction to the Green Bay-Chicago rivalry, which I'm really excited about, Jordan Love and Caleb Williams having a go at it here.
Well, he's going to get all the rivalries because he has obviously all the NFC North matchups still left on their schedule. And that was a good one. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too.
So during their losing streak, the Bears, and I got this from a fellow named Josh Hayden, Fantasy Football Podcast, does a great job. 6 of 40 on 3rd down or 4th down got to have it conversions during the losing streak. Yesterday, 12 of 19.
Ooh.
That number is telling, dude.
Yes.
It's telling. And it's not just telling like he's calling the right plays. It's telling that you have given the keys to the offense to your quarterback. And I could count on my hand. I run out of fingers of the number of plays that Caleb extended with his legs and made things happen with his legs. And I know we've said this about quarterbacks in the past in Chicago. Justin Fields did the same thing. Trubisky was creative with his legs. But Caleb's ability to run, throw the football, be creative, and when he's playing free, I think gives us, our best chance with this guy.
Yeah, he had scramble, I think it was on 3rd down, where he outran Edgerrin Cooper, rookie linebacker for the Packers. Edgerrin Cooper ran a 4.51. He is a fast, explosive
Caleb's
linebacker.
like Puka fast. He's like
Caleb got
fast.
to the edge on him. So when you have that in the tank, use it a little. And so it was
give a shout out to Braxton Jones on his thunderous steamroll of a block on the left.
On Evan Williams.
On the Swift play.
Swift touchdown.
I mean, that's why you do it. That's why you get out there and you run so hard. That's why you do it on Wednesday and Thursday, those 4 or 5 times they call the play in practice, and you run your ass off. You want to prove to coach you can get out there and make a big block, and then you make the big block. In the Green Bay game at Soldier Field, would have been a lot nicer in a win, but I got to give Braxton Jones some love there.
Hang the banner. Braxton Jones had a block, and Caleb looked good.
You know what?
I'm
happy.
I know. If you're a Bears fan, again, it's been such.
I was happy that I was so wrong about the
weeks.
competitive nature of this football team, because they hung tough and they answered the bell when they needed to as an offense.
Caleb did enough to win that game.
Yeah,
Caleb did enough to win a shame. All right, getting to another quarterback.
Another hour on it.
Did enough to win that game. Bengals Chargers. Bengals lose another one. I feel like I've seen this game before. The Bengals have played this one like 4 times this year. 27-34 on Sunday Night Football. Chargers covers 1.5 point favorites. Over hits yet again. Bengals the over darlings this year. Joe Burrow now in losses this season. You see his stats there. 308 yards per game. 18-2 touchdown to interception ratio. 107.6 passer rating. Truly unprecedented stuff, because he has the most losses in a single season with 300 plus passing yards.
Makes me sick.
3 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Makes me absolutely
That's
sick.
3 times this year.
What a waste. What a waste of talent. Look at this
Big
guy,
ball.
Joe Cool. And you see him on the bench. That's what he is, Joe Cool. After he goes out there and scores touchdowns, gives his guys chances every single friggin' week. I don't know, man. It's just shout out to the Chargers. They're awesome. Justin Herbert is friggin' sweet at football, and he looks great doing it. Seems like probably one of the most chillest dudes in the NFL.
Chargers have really blended together this running game and passing attack. And now in this one, it kind of blew my mind because they kind of went away from the run game in the second half, even though the Bengals, you would think it was because they made it them and were going in like too high shell, going to like 8-man boxes, really stuffing the line of scrimmage, and they weren't. Chargers kind of went away with it. 47-20 pass run ratio there for the Chargers in this one. But it's because Herbert was looked so good in the first half. And they've managed to, this offense, again, really modernize Greg Roman's offense. It looks a lot different from a passing perspective than even early in the season, and especially from what we saw in Baltimore. And they've managed to let Justin Herbert, or take Justin Herbert and make him into a deep downfield passer. That was the thing that, in whether it was Joe Lombardi or all the other OCs he had shrunk into a guy that was not pushing the ball down the football field the past few years there in Los Angeles. 13.1 average depth of target in this one. Was pressured on only 5 dropbacks. That was the fewest of any quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow was pressured on 25 this week. That was the most in the NFL. So they've revamped this O-line, giving Herbert time, and Herbert's responding with attacking down the field. And now, not all of them resulted in big plays. There were obviously, he went to Quentin Johnson a handful of times where he was not open and did not complete those. But it's an offense that, when you have the running game, that will change the eye lines of guys at the second level, that you can play action and attack down the football field.
You respect it.
Built to put points on the scoreboard now, and they're doing just that. Do just that.
Well, I mean, you said it. You have to respect the run game, because it's more than just like the token run game. We always used to talk about token runs. It was just like, token run fakes on these play actions. But these are not token run fakes. These are heavy play action. Defensive linemen feel it. Second level of defense has to respect it, get involved there at the line of scrimmage, and that opens up a lot of stuff. You talked about his depth of target. That's a first down every throw if they're completing these passes. Justin Herbert has that arm talent. And a guy like Ladd McConkey coming on for this offense has been huge. 6 for 123. He's probably the most relied upon guy for Justin Herbert right now, which is awesome to see all these rookies showing up for the Chargers. And we were talking about it before the show. They have to look like the smartest team in football in terms of the moves they made this offseason, the guys they let leave, the guys they retained, the people they drafted, and the people that they let put in charge of making football decisions, right?
I think I gave them one of our top off seasons, and it was solely because of Jim Harbaugh. I truly believe he's a top 5 head coach in the NFL. Obviously, he's never won one, but he's been on the doorstep on numerous occasions, and you just see it, and specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Now, in this one, obviously, they went against the horse of an offense in the Cincinnati Bengals, but just playing, nothing's easy. And I think you saw that in the first half for Cincinnati, is that even on the drives they were getting into the red zone, it just kind of shrunk, and they couldn't finish with touchdowns early on. Came back to bite them because obviously Evan McPherson went 0 for 2 Missed a couple field goals in that game as well. So
it was a theme this weekend, huh?
Yeah, the old good kickers missing field goals was the theme this weekend. But now Ladd McConkey on pace for over 1,000 yards, second most yards of any rookie wide receiver in the NFL. They finally have a guy they can rely on, or that Justin Herbert can rely on. And Quinn Johnson making a couple plays. He doesn't need to make a lot. He doesn't need to be their number one, but just make the ones that are there. He's doing that now.
He just reminds me of that big kid in like junior high or little league that was just really talented, and everybody's like, that guy's going to be a star. Mm-hmm. Well, like Justin Herbert was the guy that everybody said was going to be a star, and he has become that. And he's like the most likable version of that. He hates the camera, doesn't like to talk to the media. He just goes out there every week and delivers great starts. He's like an absolute horse of a starter in Major League Baseball. He goes out there every time and does exactly what he's supposed to do.
That's why Harbaugh is the best coach for him. Is the best thing to happen to his career, is because Harbaugh is going to,
except for being an Oregon Duck,
be the guy that like Herbert's not the vocal. You're not going to get a soundbite from him. Harbaugh can be the guy to take that sort of pressure off of him, to be the face of the team or whatever.
It's the meme of the knight with the shield, and then there's like a fair maiden behind him. He's like protecting her, and that's Jim Harbaugh with his personality.
Yes,
protecting Justin Herbert's personality.
Is. And Herbert could just
I got to make that meme.
Be
himself, which is just like freaking good at football.
Just let it rip. Exactly. He's playing more free than ever before, and you see that for sure. The Chargers now.
Chargers are hot, boy.
They're hot. They're hot. I mean, they're in a division.
Are they going to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City?
Even if they do, they're still behind the eight ball looking up at them.
Yeah, but it would still look pretty badass if they did.
But they got the Ravens next week. They could be the first wild card should everything go to plan.
Bully Lamar? Is the MVP going to get bullied 2 weeks in a row?
That's on Monday Night Football. They did a great job of scheduling, knowing the Chargers would be competitive at this point in time. Sunday Night Football yesterday, Monday Night Football next week against the Ravens. Those are going to be sick games to watch. All right, last of the A block here. Ravens at Steelers. Speaking of Lamar, Ravens as 3-point favorites go down on the road with Justin Tucker missing 2 field goals. The Ravens fumbling twice in that game. But then outside of those mistakes, that was the worst Lamar's looked all year. There were plays to be had. And now some of it was defensive line. They batted a ton of his passes. They were in his face a good portion of that day. But when there were plays to be had, Lamar was not himself from an accuracy perspective. The worst we've seen from just a throw-for-throw basis. Missed a ton of open opportunities in that one. And that's why they go down.
Why do they have his number, bro?
They just do. It looked like I wrote down in my notes I wrote playoff Lamar.
No, dude. First thing I wrote at the top. Felt like playoffs Ravens, TBH.
It did, dude. That's
exactly what it was.
That's kind of how
they shrunk.
His playoffs end up looking. It's just like, oh man, just one miss here, one miss there. Something doesn't quite go their way. It's like that's how they go down every single year.
6 field goals, 0 touchdowns for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Zay and Henry not on the field for the 2-point conversion.
Zay had one of the weirdest drops I've ever seen.
Biggest drops, too.
He had the ball just hit him in the face, or like in the neck. I don't know where he was trying to go with it.
It came out too quick. It came on him too fast. Right? It was the one where Lamar went right.
Yeah.
And he hit him right in the...
It hit him just like in the neck.
He threw it too hard. It was like when you're playing catch with your dad and your dad's like, hey, what the hell, son?
Well, I think it was a run play, the 2-point conversion.
No. I'm talking about the drop.
Oh.
You're talking about the Zay Flowers drop.
Well, you just said the 2-point conversion. He wasn't on the football.
Well, I'm different.
Yes.
Different talking point.
Okay.
I was just running down bullets there. Yeah. But yeah, like I felt like that drop was just a heater. Like, he got heated up in the backfield and he had to get rid of it. He had to get it on him quick, and Zay just wasn't ready for the fastball. The 2-point conversion, they missed the down block. 15 misses the down block. Pulling guard gets caught up in the trash. There's nobody out front for Lamar. Turns into a scramble drill.
He threw it.
That was ugly.
I do like
it. Was supposed to be a run. It was supposed to be QB power around the edge with the convoy out front, but they didn't get the down block, which leads to trash. And when there's that many moving parts in a man scheme like that, like gap backside, man frontside, things get ugly. I understand wanting to use Lamar in that situation. You get an extra blocker. He's the best athlete on the field. And I always champion for him being the guy with the football in these scenarios. Never hand it off in that situation. Mm-hmm. But maybe give you some passing options. I don't know. It was really what's the word where anticlimactic?
Anticlimactic, for sure.
That's what it was.
Steelers now have a commanding 2-game lead in the AFC North. They have Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals to close it out. So I'd say it's still up for grabs. When you have that kind of schedule heading in here, where, yeah, you got the 2 games against the Browns, but with Jameis, they're actually, I wouldn't call them a pushover at this point. But then you have 2 games against the Bengals, Ravens again on the road, Eagles on the road, and the Chiefs. There are losses to be had there in the AFC North. So still a division that's probably up for grabs. But if you're the Steelers, winning that one.
I counted 4 moonballs in the Steeler game.
Okay.
One completion,
yeah.
Which tells me
Pete almost was gonna come into the office on Monday beating his chest. He's just preying on Russell Wilson.
Yesterday I said that we should just call it the lunar launch, not the moonball. Just launching it at the moon. Right?
I like that better.
Trying to come up with a different phrase for moonball. Adam Shine said it on air yesterday, which is big.
Oh, you're getting it.
Got some traction. It was on the same desk I was sitting at, but I got some traction.
Whispered it to him in his ear right before.
So it tells me this offense can roll a little bit without, relying solely on George Pickens to be out of this world.
Pickens maybe not be out of this world, but he's definitely out of his mind.
He is out of his mind. The incompletion.
I've never seen anyone intentionally try to step out of bounds. He intentionally every week there's something with him. He did 2 things I actually don't think I've seen in this game. He signaled first down after he gained 2 yards on a 1st and 10. You see that? He signaled first down after a 2-yard gain.
Does he try to be funny?
I don't know.
Do you remember how he was standing when he got drafted?
Yes, like in front of the TV.
With the ski mask on and the white tee. So apparently he was all dressed up and he was expecting to get picked in the first round. Doesn't get picked in the first round. Gets pissed. Changes into that outfit and stands like a SpongeBob character in front of. That's him on the field every week. Anytime. He is must-see TV. The Steelers should charge more money for their fans to watch football because he is a character that's bigger than ball at this point.
It really was. My fiance asked me,
what's wrong with him?
She's like, who's your favorite player this week? And I'm like, it's George Pickens every week. It's George Pickens every week. It's just when you watch him play football, you will see something just insane happen.
Yep. It's like Saquon Barkley. Like, let's run through the names of can't miss every week, guys.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
And then we'll finish with Pickens.
Saquon, Trent Williams.
Yep.
For watching
Penei Sewell, if you like Ben Johnson's offense.
Aaron Donald used to be, but obviously no more.
It was always J.J. Watt. Is he going to score a touchdown at tight end?
J.J. was. Who else would I put up there? Tyreek.
Oh.
The Pickens. It's got to be on that list.
When they play the Cranberry song, Let It Linger, when you watch the highlights of players online and they play Linger by the Cranberries, I find myself watching Tyreek in the Chiefs uniform going off for like 40 touchdowns. And you're a lot lately.
I miss it.
A lot.
Got to give a shout though. Peyton Wilson, the interception in that game
was awesome.
Play of the game, truly from the Steelers' perspective. You turned
chase down
20+ yard gain into a pick that went the opposite way. Obviously, no fault of Lamar's there. If you are looking to lay blame, that one was just defender made a better play than the offense.
By the way, happy to see he's still at it because, when they brought him in the late rounds, he's a guy with some injury issues, but he was like a Kuechly type in college. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure, that's State.
Unbelievable. So to see him still out there for the Steelers, making big plays, they have hit on a lot of their draft picks.
Yes. And then I also give a shout out to our Darius Washington, Ravens slot corner, one of the most unheralded guys on that team, was a part-time player early in the season, earned the right to get a starting job the last few weeks, and he's been awesome for them in the slot, a big reason for their newfound defense.
Do you think Darnell Washington could have made a better effort at the interception?
Yeah, I watched that from the side angle. It was weird, right? From the TV angle, I was like...
He's 7 feet tall.
Oh, that's overthrown. From the side angle, though, I was like, that was...
He's 7 feet tall, and Russell's a munchkin, so the ball was coming at him from earth, essentially.
Yeah. He also, the low-key thing about Darnell Washington, he had a 29-inch vertical, I want to say, coming out. He was not a guy that could go up and get it.
Well, he's huge. I understand that.
He not the jump ball guy. You got to put it on his leverage sort of
How
guy.
about the reach up in the cookie jar guy?
That was a play where you saw him like.
I need him to be put the plate on the top shelf guy.
On his left hip, just put it high and away sort of thing. Like you're throwing, like you're feeding the post. This isn't like you're throwing an alley-oop. You got to just throw that post inbound where you just kind of put it on his leverage high and away. That's where I would have gone with that throw. But
how concerned are you about the Ravens, man?
That's tough. Not concerned.
Okay.
Because I mean, the biggest concern is that Lamar is playoff Lamar, honestly. Is that every single time it gets to playoffs, this game rears its ugly head. It's not that they don't have the people to do it. I think they very much do and should be considered, from like a talent perspective, still a top 5 team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But it's just, why does this game happen to them?
The Stillers.
As much as it does.
All the time.
And
I don't even know what accent
you just look at the AFC playoff picture. You're going to face some tough Ds. You can face some tough defenses. There's no one. There's no one in the top group that is just an offensive team besides them. Everyone else plays complementary football. So that's the worry if you are the Baltimore Ravens right now. All right, we're going to take a quick break. After that, get to a team that is probably in even more trouble than the Baltimore Ravens. San Francisco 49ers. After this.
Welcome to JJ's.
I'll have a... Wait, there's no way I can get a burger?
No chance. But you can have the NFL on CBS streams live on Paramount+. Oh, hang on. There's a toy.
Seahawks go on the road to San Francisco, exercise, get a little revenge for a big loss earlier this season, and win 20-17 as 6.5-point dogs.
What's it with these quarterbacks in divisional rivalries saying, F it, I'm going to call my own number and call game?
Taking it to the house. Geno Smith, a late touchdown there with only a few seconds remaining on the clock, runs it in. On that game-winning drive, you see there, he was lights out. And the San Francisco
7
49ers,
for 8 on the game-winning drive. Chunk plays, 8, 10, 12, 8. Rush for a touchdown.
Well, Jackson Smith-Njigba, another big game for him. He's now on pace for over 1,150 yards on the season. He was one of just like that receiving class. I had him wide receiver 1 that year because you just knew what you were getting. I mean, he was one of the safest wide receivers. Yeah. You're like, this guy's ball skills, his route running, like it is all NFL caliber right now, today.
And people were complaining that he was kind of, falling under the radar in that room last year and his target share wasn't up. But it's like, you got to look around the room, read the room, idiots. Okay. There's a crafty vet in that room. There's a specimen in that room who demands the football. Your targets aren't going to be that much, but now you're looking at about a third of their offense goes through Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yes.
And that is a really, really good sign for that offense because that means a star like DK is getting opportunities elsewhere. But, yesterday they relied on Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf at the end of the game drive. 7 for 8, like I said, for Geno. That's awesome to see. He's got the clutch gene. We've seen this before from Geno Smith. And the Seahawks make it really interesting. And all things considered, for the Seahawks, I was, they had a center retire last week, okay? Midweek.
That was
like, let's talk about that, okay?
Connor Williams, have you ever seen anything quite like that? He was a starter.
No, I mean, we think about Borland. Was that the guy's name from San Francisco? But that's not mid-season.
But that was after.
This is mid-season, yes. Mid-20s, starter. Walking away.
Signed a big deal.
I don't know what the situation is. Obviously, there's more there.
He was already supposed to be out this week for personal reasons. We haven't gotten any.
That's what I'm saying. We're not personal with him.
But
I was amazed to see them overcome at such an important position.
Yes.
That they've already got the right tackle situation in Seattle, which has been,
Abe Lucas played a little
less than ideal,
which will be huge for them going forward because he's, not a 6th-round rookie out of Finley. But the Seahawks, I'm not sure this means that much. It means a ton for them. We said this was a game that was a must-win.
They lost 5 of their last 6.
I'm not sure this all of a sudden puts them back in the NFC West conversation. But for the 49ers, this puts them in a real tough spot. Because not only did they lose this game, huge, you've now lost to every single divisional opponent. So you will.
That's not good.
Yes, that is not good. All in heartbreaking fashion. Their 2-minute defense at the end of the game, second worst in the NFL behind only the Bengals. 36 points allowed in the final 2 minutes of the game this season. On the flip side, the Seahawks, if they could just make their entire game, their offense out of their 2-minute drill, they would be better off. But the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey looks nowhere close to the Christian McCaffrey we've seen before. And for some reason, they are insisting on making him play every single snap of the game. 59 out of 63 snaps he's out there. He goes from not healthy enough to play for the first 9 weeks of this season to 56 out of 64 snaps last week and 59 out of 60. You're not even pitching.
Not only that, Mike, when he was in Germany or wherever he was, I know that he doesn't like people asking about his personal, medical stuff because we don't know him. We don't talk to him. But when he was out, they had guys in there running like all pros behind this offensive line.
That was not an issue.
So you get Christian McCaffrey back. He should be a compliment to your offense and then build him into your lineup reps wise. We saw him go to Tampa Bay and take the lion's share of reps. He looked gassed last week. I think he was a little bit gassed from last week, this week. But to your point, so much of this offense goes through him. He's on the field the entire time. You don't have time to ramp up.
So not only does he not look like this missing piece you thought, but Nick Bosa goes down in the third quarter of that game. Their only touchdowns came after Nick Bosa got hurt.
Yep.
And it's not even just an injury. It was a re-injury of an existing hip.
Dealing with it.
That, I don't know. That's one where when a guy's re-injuring it in a routine, untouched, just getting off the line of scrimmage play, I don't know. If he's not out for an extended period of time, it's something that's likely going to linger at this point.
Did he injure it when the NFL hit his pockets so hard?
I don't think that was one. I don't think he injured it dancing. But
a lot of guys getting fines this week.
But there will be.
The way.
If he did, a lot of guys will be injured with hips in a few weeks. But the 49ers, they're in trouble. Packers, Bills, at Bills the next 2 weeks. Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals. That is your home stretch. And you're at 5-5 now. The wild card seems out of play, given that the Commanders at 7-4 are the worst wild card. So you're even farther behind the wild card than you are your own division. You aren't going to win the divisional tiebreaker for record. You have one win within your division this year.
1-3.
1-3 in your own division.
And 3 of those 4 games, you blew leads.
Yes. And so
take a look in the mirror, like that Michael Jackson song.
So
have a conversation with yourself.
They are, I'll just say it, panic button. It's time to hit the panic button. They're in trouble.
They're not buried. They're still breathing, but the ants, they're incoming. They're a head sticking out of the ground in the desert, and the ants are coming.
They are. I will say that I think Kittle is probably the one guy that is irreplaceable in this offense.
Jawan Jennings begs to differ.
When they lose Ayuk, you had Pearsall. When you lose McCaffrey, you still have a running game because of what Kyle Shanahan can scheme up. But you don't have a guy that blocks and can run the seam like George Kittle does when he goes down. There's just that aspect of the game is gone, unfortunately, for the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah, I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Jawan Jennings balled out, though. He has been called on a number of times with all the injuries and all the question marks. I think it was 10 catches yesterday.
10 catches,
Jawan Jennings.
Touchdown.
Shrugged some guys off a couple times. I think he shrugged off 3 guys on one play.
He is their
That's big.
chain mover.
That's big. He's becoming like a true number 1 type.
Yeah, I mean, he's at minimum, he's just like, he is their possession guy. They need a 3rd and 6. You better have eyes on him.
They rely on him.
Yes. But it may not be enough. I don't know.
I really did not expect this from San Francisco.
If you had to say right now, given their schedule going forward, given the state of the NFC West, do the 49ers make the playoffs?
Gosh, you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to say no.
I don't think so either. I thought so going into this game, but I also thought they were going to win going away.
To say.
I thought they were going to win going away. And every time I think, yeah, they got this. It was the first Rams game, the first Cardinals game. I'm like, they got this. They got this. No, they don't. They haven't had it all year long. And now things could obviously change. They're a team that, in my opinion, is talented enough to beat anyone any given week. But if George Kittle's going to miss an extended period of time, if Nick Bosa is going to miss an extended period of time, you're all of a sudden, you're just not
having this conversation since day one. Okay, another meme reference. You know the meme with 2 astronauts looking at the Earth, and the one astronaut has a gun to the other astronaut's head, and he says, it never was. You know, like that's the San Francisco team. We've been saying this since week 1, man, about these injuries. Trent Williams got off a private jet 2 nights before the week 1 game.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey was getting stamps in his passport. Okay. There's a lot going on here. Yeah. Deebo Samuel, question mark.
Tough.
Nick Bosa injury, George Kittle out.
Debo's just not like it.
That's what I'm saying. George Kittle out.
He's a yak guy now. All right, Colts at Jets. Colts win 27, excuse me. Jets.
Tell me the story on this game, because I didn't watch a second of this game.
It was
other than
so sad.
The final.
I honestly, I'm watching Rodgers all 22, and it got to the fourth quarter, and I was like, I have to turn it off, man. It was making me too sad.
Really?
It was difficult to watch, not only from just from like a guy who was a fan of Aaron Rodgers for so many years.
Yeah.
Packers quarterback. It reminded me of the end of Big Ben's career. It was like last year or two in Pittsburgh, where he just didn't want to get hit. He's like, I've had enough of this shit. I've been injured. I'm too old. The hits just hit differently. And with Rodgers, it's just playing behind a not great offensive line with the scheme that we lament every single week. I wrote here that their idea of route combinations is slant flat. So like routes actually like combining with each other. It's slant flat. Like they don't have any routes that interplay. It's all just Rodgers has to choose one guy who can
win, and I got to make the right decision.
It's a terrible way to run offense in today's NFL. That was like the advent of how passing games used to work. And that's why 4,000 yards used to be a record-setting season. We've evolved. We could do more in the passing game than that. I get that you have two good wide receivers on the outside, but expecting them to win every single time or to be in a position where winning a route gets them open, it's just, those days are unfortunately over. And with Rodgers, the way he's playing, he is taking checkdowns before routes. He's just, anything he sees that comes open, he's throwing it to. He just has
Doesn't want to get hit.
No interest in holding on to the football for big plays to develop. And so you get no big plays that way. You're not getting.
It's crazy how sometimes you can still physically do it, but once your mind's out of it, particularly in the game of football, you are miles and miles and miles from where you need to be as a competitor. Yes. And if what you're saying is true, Aaron is buried.
They are.
And it is sad. I'm trying to think of other stars that had a fall from grace while still playing at the high levels.
I mean, it's like last season of Favre, late Big Ben. It's just sometimes it goes.
Was Favre this?
His last season with the Vikings was bad. His last season was tough. 2011 was a bad season to watch. For the Colts, though, I had to laugh. I have a clip of this, actually. Anthony Richardson. Second, we're talking about the actual issues. Very second play of the game, he misses one of the easiest throws you'll ever see. That guy is 5 yards away from him. Now, yeah, under pressure, whatever, but that is tough. But
that looked like my first shot in every beer pong game. Where it's like I'm just gauging it.
When you're on like the 5 foot table and you have
just gauging it.
That thing goes flying. But after that, man said this was his best game all season. This was Anthony Richardson's best game as a passer,
man, all
season. So many throws over the middle of the football field with zip between two defenders on a point. Now his accuracy is it's not fixed. His footwork was still a mess, but man,
what kind of offense was Steichen talking about? Was he going downhill at these guys, testing their tackling? I know that the Jets just did tackling practice last week for the first time and padded practice.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Wednesday and Thursday.
I don't think they changed much of what the offense was prior. Now, they did do a cool rollout where it was a passing play where Richardson sold the run fake as if it was, Lamar in the 2-point conversion. Like he tucked it on a passing play and sprint out right immediately. But it was actually it was a pass the whole time.
It was a fake end.
Like I'm running it. Like when you throw it
like
back,
a classic Mohamed Sanu play.
It looked like that, but with Anthony Richardson at the quarterback position. Didn't end up working out because someone blew a block, but still did stuff like that. But it was Anthony Richardson under pressure. Under pressure in this one, 9 of 12, 145 yards. That's why you can't quit Anthony Richardson, is because he is unfazed in the pocket, delivering strikes under pressure. When a guy can do that, and he's athletic and has the arm that he does, it doesn't take much to put up 28 points against the Jets, right? It doesn't take much to lead a high-level offense, especially with the talent they have. And Josh Downs in this one, my God, that guy might be the best pure slot receiver right now in the NFL.
He's fun to watch.
So explosive.
And that was part of he was Joe Flacco's pacifier when he was in there. He was like his little snuggle blanket there. And at first we were like, oh, they just have good chemistry. And then it's like, oh no, this guy Josh Downs just wins. He wins. That's all he does.
He is open.
He's a separator. He's a guy that would benefit the Bears. Get somebody like that in their offense.
Yes.
Instead of got me feeling nice.
You had him in there instead of Keenan Allen.
Got me feeling nicey.
The offense would be a little different animal. But yeah, Richardson, he can do that every week. You're going to win some games. So good on him. Good job. Job well done, Nate Rich. The benching, maybe it worked. We'll see. All right, on to the Raiders at Dolphins. Not much to talk about here. Dolphins win going away. Brock Bowers, though.
Yeah, 13, 124.
13, 124. He now has 70 catches through 10 games, second most of any player in NFL history.
Dude, it's like
any player.
Him and Mike Ditka really at the top of that list for like rookie tight ends.
Yeah. He is special dude at the tight end position. I couldn't believe he fell to where he did. I think everyone I talked to had the exact same take on Brock Bowers.
He was surgically repaired, right?
No.
Didn't he have his ankle at the end of the year?
Oh, okay, yeah, but it wasn't. He wasn't
and
like
he fought back to play.
A big injury red flag guy.
I'm just saying.
But I think a lot of teams are regretting not drafting a Brock Bowers. He's already probably a top 3 tight end in the NFL. 706 yards this season, 70 catches, 3 touchdowns. Probably the lone bright spot for the Raiders in this one because Dolphins kind of back. 34 points to put on the scoreboard.
Yep.
Can they now at 4-6? Can they work their way back into this? Broncos 6-5. That's the last wild card. Do we see? I mean, they've looked good. They hung with the Bills a few weeks ago. They have
saying what I'm about to say will acknowledge that I have been wrong in the past, and obviously I've been wrong a number of times. But I had the Dolphins. They've been out to lunch. You know what I mean? But then the last 4 games, Tua comes off IR. You said it. 34 points yesterday. That's a number that we've grown accustomed to seeing tagged along with this offense.
Yes,
34 points. An efficient running game, being able to distribute the football with your quarterback, not getting him hit. And obviously it's paramount with this Miami offense, keeping Tua safe. But I love to see this. They got their mojo back a little bit. They've dealt with injuries all year, defensive side of the ball in particular, but they're playing hard. Big win again yesterday.
So they don't have a tough schedule going in here. Patriots, Packers, Jets, Texans, 49ers, Browns, Jets. So you got the Jets twice. You got the Patriots once. We'll just give them 3 wins there.
Yep.
So then how many wins do we see? And we'll give them a win against the Browns too. So 4 more wins. That brings them to 8 wins.
Two games above 500 there.
So they just need 2 wins against probably the Packers, Texans, 49ers. If they can get one of those, they can get to 9-7. Not drop the easy ones. Win one of those against Packers, Texans, 49ers. They're at 9-8.
Could be against the Niners.
You think?
9-8?
9-8?
I'll say yes.
I don't think it does, unfortunately.
What do they have to get to?
They got to get past the Broncos.
Got it.
And I think the Broncos right now,
because Bo Nix is.
I think the Broncos right now are a team you don't really want to play. You just don't really want to play them.
You don't. I don't know who would you. Okay, let's play who you don't want to play.
Who's the all don't want to play?
Chargers or Dolphins or Chargers or Broncos? Because it's really just the AFC West.
So I think Chargers have better results.
And the Eagles are in this conversation.
I would be less likely to want to play the Denver Broncos.
Denver or Philly.
Just because that defense, I think any given week can give you real problems.
Denver or Philly.
Denver or Philly? Wait, what are we talking about?
Talking about who do you not want to play?
No one wants to play Philly.
I'm talking hot teams.
Okay, hot teams. Yeah, no one's higher than the Eagles right now. No one wants to play the Eagles.
They're disgusting.
They are. All right, let's go to Rams Patriots here first.
Should actually be illegal if they've monopolized talent in Philadelphia.
Their roster. It is funny that we're kind of counting them out around the season, but then you just look at this roster and you're like, wait, this is a top 3 roster.
I just have an ingrained hatred for that team because of the double doink and because Chris won a Super Bowl there that I'm just like,
that's fair.
I'm very prone to anti-Eagles propaganda, but at the end of the day, they are great. I might sneaky play with the Eagles on Madden tonight.
I have to laugh at, Howie Roseman got a lot of backlash early in the season as a backlash of being called one of the best GMs in football. Because he's like everyone, the analytics darling, like all like media gases.
And then they pissed down their leg in the first quarter.
And they pissed down their leg for a few games. And I was like, so Howie's freaking overrated. It's whatever. It's like, oh, wait, no, they're not overrated at all. This team's a house. We'll get to them, though, at the end of this one. Let's get to Rams Patriots, though. Rams 28-22. Now, no real storylines for the Rams. This one was one they had to win. We knew it. The offense came back on track in this one. But Drake May, dude, this was, in my opinion, his best game.
Yep.
Truly under fire again. Drop back. The offensive line's terrible. This Rams front was living in the backfield. And he somehow just made it felt like to me, I wrote down here, watching May and Stafford was almost like the Spider-Man meme, where it's just like that felt like
horses.
Early Stafford. Drake May, just like the ability to make throws from any platform, from any footwork, with just God-given arm talent down the football field, that he can, in any sort of situation, he can make a play for you.
We're so back as fans in terms of quarterbacks.
I know this year's draft.
We're back, dude.
You just look at it. I think for certain right now, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix are franchise guys. For certain.
Yeah.
Caleb has had obviously a rockier go of it.
Oh, he's a franchise guy.
I would be very surprised if he's not. He's on the precipice. But those three, at least.
And we know nothing about J.J. McCarthy yet.
That's the most. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the last time a rookie class had three guys where you're just like, he's it. He's there already. Last year didn't.
They are them. They, them.
2020, you had Burrow and Herbert. You could be like, yeah, those guys are going to be. But even those two, I'd say, they weren't playing like Jaden Daniels was. So this year, though, I just think it's unique what we're seeing from this rookie quarterback class. Cherish it because the NFL needed it. And
growing up, we had so many elite level quarterback rivalries, and like even the underground ones. It was like Cutler and Rivers and stuff like that.
Like the 09.
We're gonna get all that again now.
I know.
In division, out of division, interconference rivalries. Good for us.
If you're a Patriots fan, this season's going about as swimmingly as it could.
Right?
May's not getting hurt.
Losing. May's playing well.
But you're losing. You're still going to get that top 5 pick, even
losing
though maybe
close games.
The only problem is maybe Gerard Mayo's defense isn't quite. It's not going to be what Belichick's was, right? You see him then take a big step back from 1.6 points per drive last year to 2.02.
Some really conservative,
not really having less talent.
Conservative decisions by Gerard Mayo in this game that really kept some points off the board. That was curious.
That
was really curious, Michael.
Maybe they got the call from the booth.
Hey, Gerard, this is Robert. Punt the ball. Punt the ball.
But yeah, they're now 3-8, slated to be picking 6th overall if the season were to end today.
If you were to take a guess right now, we're going to do the flashback, in 6 months, whatever the hell it is. We're going to flash back in time. Who do you think what's their need?
Who are they going to draft?
O-line.
They need O-line really badly. Will Campbell's the dream, LSU offensive lineman. Hopefully he's there on the board for them when they're picking. But if they win too many games, he may not be. So we shall see.
Keep losing.
All right, Vikings at Titans. Not a ton to talk about in this one. Vikings win going away 23-13. Under hits in this was my lock of the week, 40.5.
Sam Darnold needed to get back game.
He had a great game.
He needed one.
He did. He needed it. He got it. Levis actually didn't look terrible in this one.
Aaron, was it a pitch toss to Aaron Jones, like first drive, first play, fumble, ball's on the ground immediately. I was like, Sam Darnold is a pumpkin. He didn't even throw the football and the ball's on the ground.
No, yeah. This might have been one of his best just games all season from a pure where the ball needed to go. Did it get there perspective? Numbers weren't anything special, but this is a tough Titans pass defense. They've shut down a lot of pass offense this year. But Levis actually should have had a 300-yard game.
98 yards, 51 yards. Called back on the Calvin Ridley one.
Calvin Ridley touchdown pass called back.
O-line. Come on, dude.
I looked at that play.
It's bullshit.
After the fact, and I'm like, I think they actually got it wrong. I think his helmet was on the belt buckle. I think it was.
These guys don't know what they're looking at anymore.
So
too much ass for the linesman to handle.
That one was tough, but Levis did finish 17 of 31, 295 yards, a touchdown and a pick. But
yeah, I can't quit you, Will.
If he gets an O-line, I think he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He can't survive behind a bad O-line. He takes too many sacks. He has no
Pat Jones
permanence.
Was the second. 2.
Pittsburgh. He was solid. But yeah, for the Vikings, business as usual for them. All right, let's get to Falcons Broncos, a game that
I'm really disappointed.
I could not believe. I mean, 38-6 Broncos win going away, a true demolition in this one. Broncos offense, Bo Nix goes 28 of 33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. He now has only 1 turnover-worthy play in the last 8 games, according to PFF.
70% completion percentage, 4 out of his last 7 games. Guy's playing like a damn football wizard out there.
First rookie ever to go for 300-plus passing yards with an 80% completion percentage or better and 4 passing touchdowns. Now, it was still a lot of screens and underneath stuff. It wasn't a lot of this was bad Falcons defense. But Bo Nix, from week 3 on, according to PFF, top 10 graded quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, that's amazing. Good on Sean Payton for getting that thing right. But also, more impressive to me than Bo Nix in this matchup was the fact that Denver responded as a football team in a huge way after such a letdown last week. Because we've seen with some recent events around the league that these big letdowns at the end of games can lead to cataclysmic explosion collapses inside your building.
Fired. Yeah.
People are without work because of stuff like this. But Denver responded and blew the doors off the Atlanta Falcons. And Bo Nix, huge part of it. Big shout out to the Oregon Ducks. Again, another Oregon quarterback we're talking about.
Keep drafting.
Just a guy, dude.
I also have to give a shout out to Nick Benito in this game, Denver Broncos. He's been on a tear. 9 sacks now. Not 9 sacks in this game, but 9 sacks on the season. 2 sacks in this game. That's a guy you do not want to see if you are a slow-footed offensive tackle. He is lightning. Maybe the quickest get-off
he gives
in the NFL
me
right
the
now.
Fear of God like Frank Clark did in his heyday. Frank Clark could time up that snap like nobody's business, and his initial movement was unmatched. He would get to your hip quicker than a hiccup, and that's what Benito does. We saw it against Suamataia last week, around the chip, around Suamataia, and able to get home, bend the corner too. That's a huge luxury you have to have one of those rushers that's a true gazelle.
And I keep saying it, with the way defenses are going, those guys are even more valuable. Those are the guys you want.
Available.
You just want the guy that has the ability to
juice,
get in the backfield. I don't care if he can set the edge in the run game. I don't even want him trying to set the edge. I want him ducking inside. If he sees, it's
here to get the quarterback.
Just get in the backfield some way or another. Nick Benito can do just that. All right, Browns Saints, another laugher as the Saints win going away. Another feather in the cap of my take that if Taysom Hill played in 1950, he would have been the GOAT. We would be talking about him as
best player ever.
Yeah. What he in this game, Taysom Hill.
I know you had a hell of a stat line.
Ran for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns. Threw for 18 yards. Now he did have a pick. And then caught 8 balls for 50 yards.
Are you kidding? Is this the greatest game of the season by a player?
I wish he wouldn't have thrown a pick because it would have had the stat line sounded way better.
Come on, Taysom.
138 rushing yards as well as 8 catches.
8 catches. I mean, he's like Travis Hunter for this offense.
Yeah.
His versatility.
Is
there anybody that's more versatile?
No. I mean, and again, if he played in the 50s, he would have been an entire offense and he would have been sick. I wonder if, not to say that there's going to be the next Taysom Hill, but if guys of that build, if we see more running back / tight ends going forward, if that's a thing, that we see more guys get
hybrids.
Yes. Hybrid players, because it is a problem. And now again, Taysom Hill is a 1-of-1 player. There's not other guys that can also throw and do what he does as a blocker and a runner and a receiver. But these, 235-pound tight ends, there's a good deal of them at the collegiate level. Some of them block well still when they're out in space. They're
Some
not
played
one-on-one
quarterback in
players.
high school.
And some are athletes that can tote the rock too.
Zach Miller was a tight end I played with the Bears. He was a really good receiving tight end, but he was also a quarterback in college and had the ability to throw. There's a lot of those guys out there.
There's a guy named Harold Fannin right now who's an undersized tight end at Bowling Green, going to go over 1,000 yards on the season as a tight end. That is awesome after the catch. That I wonder if we see him just getting in, just more teams willing to carve out roles for these type of guys that with how valuable, kind of dictating numbers for a defense can be.
Let's say Taysom Hill had a clone and his clone was available. Which team would sign him and use him the best?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm trying to think who would.
Detroit or Kansas City?
Yeah, I think Detroit would be. I like that call.
And it's more of just a tip of a cap to Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Speaking of, Detroit goes 52-6 on the Jaguars.
Hey,
we haven't heard yet if Doug Peterson still has a job.
The mushroom cloud has not cleared in Jacksonville
prediction
yet.
was that he was not going to be making the flight back to Detroit from Detroit because it was going to be a blowout. And lo and behold, this was it's just one of those games where it felt like, remember Brandon Staley last year, the 63-21 Raiders game? It felt like that, where it's like they gave up. They did not want to be out there. But you also just had such a coaching mismatch, like such an ability mismatch between what the Lions were dialing up and what the Jaguars were answering with, that you saw how much coaching matters in this one. It was not that they were so drastically mismatched from a talent perspective, and now they were. It was the Lions are the much better team, but they had a cohesive plan of attack to
destroy dominate
Jags defense that the Jags just didn't have on the opposite side of the football. Perfect passer rating from Goff in this one, 158.3. I thought he had done it before this year, but actually this was the first time he did it this year.
It feels like he's a guy that's done it like 4 times.
He's been over 150 on 3 different times.
Because he's so efficient.
The Rams are now the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. They're
the Lions.
The Lions. Why say Bears? Of course they're not.
You said Rams.
The Rams. Yikes. I'm still thinking of Goff. Lions. Plus 159 point differential this season. That is so far and away the best in the NFL. No one else is even above 100.
Well, they're going to need that point differential because they were telling the Niners to put the fries in the bag at a certain point in the playoffs last year. How did that end up for the Lions?
To not end up going well.
So, I mean, hey, we've seen this before, a dominant Lions team, but we got to see, like with Lamar and the Ravens.
Yes.
We got to see it in crunch time. Even Josh Allen yesterday, after beating Patrick Mahomes for the 4th time in the regular season, he says, without much excitement on his face, essentially, he was like, "Well, we got to do what it matters."
This one's good, but this ain't the one that we actually need. That one comes later. All right, last game of the week: Commanders at Eagles. Eagles win 26-18. We discussed that 4th down call. That was anti-analytics. 8 minutes to go. Down 2. Philadelphia 26. 4th and 2. They don't get it. Eagles go touchdown the next 2 drives. That game's over. But I think it just speaks more to the inevitability of this Eagles and their offense.
Yep.
That they were kind of moving it all day long. The Commanders were not moving it all day long. And the Commanders made a calculated decision saying,
we got to hit some threes.
One field goal.
And by threes, I mean touchdown.
Yes, one field goal is not
literal
ending this game for us. One field goal puts us in a good spot, but we are going to need much, much more than that. And obviously they did end up needing much, much more than that when it's all said and done.
Prime example of analytics sometimes needs to take a backseat to feel of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And
so I didn't hate the call at all. I thought
no. Yeah.
But everyone criticizing it, it's like,
don't criticize it.
What you saw, why they needed to go for it, literally.
You know who they're playing against?
Yeah.
What they're doing right now? Saquon Barkley would have had 170 yards, like I predicted, had that been the case.
The Eagles now have outgained their opponents by over 100 yards in 6 straight games. First team in NFL history to do that.
That's wild.
That's kind of a crazy stat. They have been since that bye week. We've discussed it a lot.
Do you know who the last team was?
Different animal. Well, no team's done it. So they were.
Well, I'm saying like
who had
6
5
games.
I have no clue who did it for 5 games.
Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss.
Did they?
I don't know. New England. 07.
I mean, 07 New England would be the team that I think, because they just poured on yardage. But Philadelphia Eagles, 07 New England. They're indistinguishable at this point, it seems like. I have to give a shout out, though, to the two rookie corners in this game. Quinyon Mitchell. He hasn't allowed over 30 yards in a game since week 4. Didn't allow a catch in this game. And then Mike Stainer still on the opposite side. Those are your two best rookie corners right now. Stainer still 2 of 5 targets, 31 yards, only 2 with 2 pass breakups. Those guys are playing some lights out football for rookie corners. Both happy as heck to have their guys. I still can't believe Quinyon fell to 22nd overall, man. What an absolute steal. He's been so good. So good. And this Eagles defense. Now, Jaden, do we think he's hurt, or was this more the Eagles defense? Because after the injury, first game back, he goes for over 300 yards. But then the past couple weeks, hasn't quite looked the same. Hasn't quite had the same juice. This one, 22 of 32, 191 yards, a touchdown, a pick. I don't know.
So what you're trying to tell me is Bo Nix is now in the driver's seat for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
It's just a question. Is Bo Nix, does he have a chance at this?
Yes.
If you had to pick.
If Jaden Daniels looks healthy or human, let's say for the next 2 weeks, and Bo Nix looks like Bo Nix has looked for the next 2 weeks, are we having this conversation, or is Bo Nix the guy?
I think we're starting to have the conversation then. I think right now, Jaden Daniels it is definitely a little recency bias.
His body of work has been great.
His body of work is better.
Saquon Barkley. I said he was going to have a $170. Washington can't stop the run, and he had a $146. Now, a lot of these run explosive runs, but if you look out front of these explosive runs, Cam Jurgens doing a great job getting up there, getting people blocked, covered up on the line of scrimmage. I like the tush push stuff, but it's that second level stuff that really springs your running back, Saquon Barkley, for those explosive plays. Obviously, they got a bunch of talent on the outside, but you and I both know my favorite thing is the running game. And when you have a line that can get guys covered up, you'll get 3 to 5 yards a carry. But when you have a guy like Saquon married with the stars on the line of scrimmage for the Eagles, you're looking at home run potential every single time you pick up a baseball bat. Yeah,
we are now kind of seeing a tier emerge in the NFC. Lions and Eagles look like there's your gold standard, right? I think everyone else, and now the Vikings have the same record as the Eagles at 8-2.
It ain't the same.
But it just doesn't feel the same, right? Those two teams are playing on a level where I think if you're the rest of the NFC, you're scared. And if you're those two teams, you're just jockeying now for that number 1 seed. It's where it comes down to.
They're just flexing their muscles right now.
Eagles schedule going forward, they have the Rams, they have the Ravens, they have the Panthers, the Steelers, the Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. So it's not that tough. You got probably that Ravens game, you got that Steelers game, and then you got the next Commanders game on the road. Those are your 3, I guess, worrisome ones over that span. That'll be high level games.
Lions-Eagles situation right now reminds me of any Rocky movie where Rocky's fighting his fights and winning, and then the antagonist is also fighting their fights and dominating people. And, ironically enough, I would consider the Eagles to be Rocky, right? And the Lions are the bad guy because
even Drago.
Yeah, the Lions are that.
The unstoppable.
The Lions are Clubber Lang. The Lions are everything that is bad in the universe if you're an Eagles fan, because you're on a collision course with Detroit.
Cannot wait to see.
I mean, seriously,
how the NFC playoff picture shakes out.
It's getting interesting, man. The league is getting interesting. There's surprise players joining the party. Pittsburgh has been a great story. Philadelphia coming on. All these quarterbacks are great now. It's fun to watch. The rookies, a lot of storylines here. Gruden back on my timeline a lot. Let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
I know it's like 4 days ago news.
Yes.
So obviously he signs a full-time gig with Barstool Sports. That's not the story that I'm talking about. John Gruden is starting his campaign trail. Seriously, he is in image inpatient rehab, and the inpatient facility is in Chicago, Illinois, at the Barstool Sports office. He's going to be a head coach.
When?
Don't know. He's starting. He's cleaning up the sidewalks.
I bet it's not this year. I'm not disagreeing that he probably gets another shot, but I think he's got to be out in the public eye for.
He was literally in a closet at the Fired Football Coaches Association of America making highlight videos. He has come out of that, and now he's at Barstool, and he's full-fledged media guy. This is the transition we see from retreaded coaches, right? We see him get in the media space, traditional usually. This is a non-traditional space for him to be in. Barstool, he's doing live watches. He's interacting with, the John Q public. But I think that raises his social capital a little bit when people are reminded of how much of a football guy he is and how the NFL is missing a piece of its fabric, really.
Well, here's the thing.
John Gruden.
For as much as Bill Belichick has been on his own sort of rehab campaign of his, or not rehab, like get myself out there any way, shape, or form.
He's more
being
on
Barstool
TLC.
Sports is going to get him in front of more people than being on Underdog and Inside the NFL is going to do for Bill Belichick.
Yes.
Now, maybe not the people that have any sway in making decisions on football teams, but it's going to get.
Ironically enough, they probably watch Inside the NFL.
Yeah, but so it's going to get his name out there though. So we shall see. I think not this year, but next year. I think he gets a chance.
Interesting though. Something to watch.
All right. Week 11 in the books. What a week it was.
Great show.
We'll be back tomorrow doing Pete's Power Rankings. Until then, keep pushing.
Peace, love.